And we are live. Welcome to the Filmed Fiend podcast with me and the 13th Wolfman. I'm Brother Max.
Y'all call me Wolfie.
Yeah. Uh, um, so we're going to be talking about Thanksgiving, directed by Eli Roth. So the first thing I kind of want to talk about is that we're going to be spoiling it, but we're going to try to. At least I'm going to try not to spoil it for a little bit, so you get a little moment. But because there's so much to talk about this movie before the big reveal of who did it, anyways. Um, what was I going to say? What me and you talked about off in our messages, like I haven't bought a full priced movie in a while. You know, like outside of Vinegar Syndrome and whatever the other one was called.
Severin.
Yeah, I haven't bought any of those like a full price out of those two boutique labels and everything. So buying an actual like physical $20 movie, it's been a while from like Walmart or whatever. Especially since Best Buy doesn't sell their DVDs anymore. I was like, it was kind of like, oh, you bought it as well full price, and I bought it as well full price, which is because me and you usually wait for like Black Friday,
or some kind of sale.
Yeah. So it was like, was it worth the price of admission? So that's what I was getting at. At least it's kind of a blanket statement.
I do think it was. I mean, I was surprised. I paid full price, but I'm trying to remember because I picked up Thanksgiving and something else, and one was $20 and one was $17 or whatever, and I was really surprised. It's Eli Roth.
Yeah.
I liked, I love Cabin Fever. I love Hostel 1 and 2. Green Inferno is another good one. I liked Knock Knock as much as people hate that movie.
I'm so glad.
I thought it was a fun time.
I love Knock Knock as well.
So when you're hitting more out of the park than just sporadically, I'm willing to invest in that.
Oh, same.
Whereas Christopher Nolan, just for an example, I don't like every one of his movies. I think Memento is a giant piece of garbage, man. I'm not really impressed with it.
I think we Christopher Nolan rabbit hole discussion a while back.
Right, we have. We have. I was just using them as an example. I mean, I would not go out and.
I was just saying.
I wouldn't go out and buy. I want to see Oppenheimer, but I don't want to pay full price for it because it's Christopher Nolan.
I take that back. I bought Oppenheimer full price, and to me, that was actually worth the. I liked that movie a lot. I watched all 3 hours of it in one sitting. It was really, really good. Like to me and you, it'll be fine for one sitting, but Oppenheimer, I felt like if you were someone who can't do 3 hour plus movies, like the movie, I think the movie's really done really well where you could probably break it up into 2 hour-and-a-half movies, like sections, and be like, okay. And I think about the hour-and-a-half mark is like right when they start like building that town in the desert and stuff like that, and proceeding to build the bomb and everything. I think that's because I kind of wrote
project.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, so if you really wanted to break it up, I mean, you may have to do like it may be 1:40 or 1:50, but or a little less or a little more, just depending, good stopping point. But for the most part, you could probably do it that way if you don't like 3 hour movies. But But for the most, I liked.
I don't mind
I bought
3 hour movies. You know,
yes. So I bought that full price. So thank you for reminding me that because I was actually looking forward to that one 100, and that one was worth the price of admission, just because it had all the
I
special features and the length of the movie and everything.
and I did. I mean, Thanksgiving. I getting back to Thanksgiving. Paying full price for. I feel that it was worth the price of admission. I mean, if you break it down to oh, let's go see this in the theater. I
Mm-hmm.
think I paid. I think I paid $17.95 for it. I think it might have been 20. It might have been 19.95. If it's 19.95, here's the simple math. That's a $9 ticket to see it in the theater.
Mm-hmm.
That's not really that bad. When I hear what other people are paying around the country, at one time when I was hearing like what Kevin and Tony were paying to go to the theater, because every state's different. I'm just kind of like, okay, it's not so bad if it's a $9 ticket. Would it be worth my $9 to see it? Yes.
Uh,
I'm thinking of $9 ticket, because I usually see movies with another person,
I get you.
so that's why it's broke down like that, you know.
Um, I
But yeah, I enjoy, and I watched all the special features, dude.
same. Except for the commentary, I haven't made it through the commentary yet.
Oh, I haven't done the commentary yet, but yeah.
Yeah, but I watched all the special features and stuff as well because I just wanted to take it all in, just because it was a nice breath of fresh air in for the horror genre, because it's been kind of stagnant a little bit in my opinion. It just a little bit, and because you had all the messy stuff that's going on with the Scream franchise, um and then like the last big slasher movie was Scream and Halloween, and those two didn't, like, one was pretty decent, one didn't end so well, and according to some, and this one actually kind of felt like it
Okay,
was.
so you're bringing up Halloween, and I told you like before we started this, I go, I've been watching a lot of stuff.
Oh, okay.
So I went, I ended up buying like at a pawn shop. I ended up buying the first Halloween 2018 and Halloween Kills.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't had Halloween Ends in my possession because I wanted to sit through all three and just watch them back to back to back. I did that the other night because on Black Friday I wound up buying Halloween Ends. I just haven't got around to watching it. They've been sitting on a little stack by the chair, you know, and I keep looking at them, keep looking at them, keep looking at them. I'm really just diving into the stack of movies, right, and stuff. And so the other night I watched 2018 Kills and Ends all together, one day. Each one movie is like an hour and a half, and then the other two are somewhere between an hour and 50 minutes and an hour and 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why people don't like Halloween Kills or Halloween Ends. I mean, I thought it was the perfect ending. Yes, Jamie Lee Curtis's character from 2018 in Kills is more subdued, but she finally let go of it, man. I mean, she's a very angry woman in 2018 and in Kills. So she's just got this possession to, not possession, obsession to kill Michael.
Mm-hmm.
She finally let it go, and she's living with her granddaughter in the last movie. So okay, she's not you know Granny Rambo anymore.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
Same. Like, because Michael went into like hibernation essentially, and then
Basically, yeah,
and the town kind of found its new boogeyman for a little while with that Corey character.
yeah.
um and so Yeah, I think if I remember, I was like I said during our last, that was question number 10. Like, was like, what'd you think of that Halloween that trilogy? Um, so you liked it, like overall, did you enjoy the whole like process of the whole three movies?
I enjoyed the whole I enjoyed the whole thing. I'm pretty much at that point where if they put out another fucking Halloween movie, sorry, I'm pretty much done. I've seen every Halloween movie in the theater with the exception of the original.
You
Right?
know, I would be all right with no more Halloween movies either. You know,
But
like,
the
go ahead.
problem is that there's a clause. There's a clause that
Yeah,
Mustafa Akkad put in the contracts. You know that the guy that uh, distributed the original film,
right.
saying that Michael can never die. You know, and I'm just kind of like, dude, come on. I mean, I think there's too many timelines.
Hmm.
They want to do a Halloween TV series. You
Yeah,
know,
I was
someone
about to.
online said, "Well, I hope that they introduce a multiverse that will explain everything." And I'm like, "Oh my god, no!"
Yeah, the multiverse stuff has kind of run its course, in my opinion. It's like I think hopefully Deadpool 3 will kind of like kibosh it, put it to its end, um, in some regards. But um, so, so if you guys haven't seen, well, I know we're kind of not we're on the Halloween for a moment, but like, did you like so like Michael met his end in a very violent and gory, mushy fashion.
I loved it. I loved it.
Yeah,
There's no, oh, you chopped the head off the wrong guy. There's no Halloween H2O. I thought H2O was a really good ending to the whole series back in 1997, 98. You know, it's like, oh, she finally did it. She she pinned Michael up against a tree with the ambulance. She cut his head off with an axe. I'm not giving away any spoilers, people. If you haven't seen it, that's not my problem.
it's 20, over 20-year-old movie.
Yeah,
That's
exactly. That's my point.
like it's
But
no Roy
she cut his head
Barnes.
off with an axe, and then they put out that piece of that pile of fetid cheese garbage, Resurrection. You
You don't like?
know, no, dude, I don't. No one likes Resurrection. You know that.
Oh no, I'm
But,
talking about Fed. I know no one likes Resurrection, but I'm just you said you use feta cheese as a negative. I'm like, I like.
well, I didn't want to keep on swearing.
I get you.
I started with an F, and I was like that. It's like you
But
know,
yeah,
I
uh,
I mean,
but
it's one thing, but it's just
but
God.
yeah,
And then they said
and
at the beginning of Resurrection, "Whoops, you cut the head off of the ambulance driver or one of the medics." I'm like, okay, such a cop out. I was so ticked.
this this franchise needs to like just lay dormant for a long time, and like
Right.
let Michael or not, let like Freddie come back or Jason have their spotlight one more time, and let them go dormant, and like
The
have
only
Robert Englund
reason
give
the
his one final.
only reason I want Friday the 13th to do one more film is so that we have 13 films.
Right.
Other than that, Freddy could stay buried. Jason can stay dead. I mean, uh, uh,
Leather.
there are other slashers. I love the Texas Chainsaw movies, but they kind of screwed that thing up like big time with all the different. And
That timelines as well as too. It's like which one like this one starts the new timeline, and this one is a direct sequel to the first one, and
yeah,
it's like and like Hellraiser. I think Hellraiser has been like one of the like. Did you watch the new Hellraiser on Hulu?
No, I don't have Hulu. I don't do streaming.
Oh, the new Hellraiser is actually pretty good. Like there's some characters who are kind of like, whatever. But for the most part,
I've
I
heard
like
mixed, but yeah,
the for the most part I enjoyed it. Like it's a good step in the right direction. Um, because we know, like, I don't know how you feel about the Hellraiser franchise after
it's
like,
actually one of my favorite franchises. So I like the original first three movies. Most people don't like the third movie. Um, I do. And then the minute you go into number four, which is Bloodlines, and they go in outer space,
mm,
I'm pretty much done. I've seen
gotcha.
them all, but I hate it. There was a trend in the '90s where they're like, well, you know what? We need to send we need to send Leprechaun into space. We need to send Pinhead in space, and we need to send Jason in. It's like, what the hell, dude? Screw space. You can tell that story. You can tell the bloodline story without sending them into space.
Well, see, like even like that's what I read about some of the other later Hellraiser installments was like they were never Hellraiser movies to begin with. They were stories that start and then they shoehorned in the
Pinhead.
Cenobite, yeah, or the
Yeah.
priest. Um, but yeah, but Thanksgiving. Did you ever see? Well, we can't talk about Thanksgiving without talking about Grindhouse. Did you go see Grindhouse?
I saw Grindhouse in the theater. Yes.
Thing.
I think I was like the only person that, besides I saw it with my mom. Again, my mom, Mama Wolf,
Right,
big she's a big horror fan. So
right.
we saw it in the theater together. And I think we're the only two that understood what Grindhouse was. Most people didn't get it. And that
So
was the problem with the movie.
I I went and seen it with my cousin and watched, and then we went and seen the Aqua Teen Hunger Force movie right after that. But it was so I those three movies will always be connected to me, and it will always be like
There you
one of my
go.
best. Uh, but but yeah, like I knew what the Grindhouse experience was. I knew what like I was like I knew it was just going to be kind of like what the movies are going to be look like if they've been passed around from theater to theater. That's why it looked the way they looked,
Right.
uh and scratching and the whole missing reel stuff. I loved that little notch in
Yeah,
there.
thing in Planet Terror. Yeah.
Yeah, and everything. So I enjoyed all that. And I had some friends who went and seen it and they skipped out on Death Proof. And I'm like, Death Proof
Death
is the
Proof.
best movie. In my opinion, because that one to me feels more of a grindhousey film than Planet Terror. Even though I love the the goofiness and the bloodiness and the goriness of Planet Terror, but the more I like car movies more
No,
than
no,
anything.
I get it. Yeah, it's Vanishing Point meets Death Wish.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, we got Pap in the room. um, yeah. But I thought the fake trailers were perfect, and that's where we got Thanksgiving and Machete. Those are the only two have been turned into movies so far.
Hobo with the shotgun.
Oh
No, no,
yeah,
Hobo with the shotgun.
right, right. I was about to say like I didn't get that trailer. I know it was like exclusive to some showings, but I know that was in some showings.
Oh, I
But
didn't know that.
yeah, I didn't get the hobo with a shotgun trailer because it was exclusive to like the like a certain area got it. Like I think Austin got it because that's where Death Proof takes place, and where they filmed it and stuff like that. They had like a little film festival, I think, and that was the one that won to be
Yeah, I'm
included.
in
But
Washington, so I don't know. We got Hobo with the shotgun. I thought that's really weird. Did not know that.
yeah, we didn't
Um,
get.
Yeah. So I mean, I walked. Okay, so I grew up. I was born in the '60s. I was a kid in the '70s and a teenager in the '80s. Okay,
Hmm.
so grindhouse theaters were around when I was a kid. You know, and I don't think anybody really understood. Hey, Pap, I don't think people understood what what the grindhouse effect was. I mean, we walked out of the theater. I heard people going, "Oh my god, what garbage! What? How stupid was that? Who has a missing reel? I mean,
Yeah.
scratches." I heard young people in the theater at the time going, "Scratches? They can just run it through like a video." And I'm thinking, you don't get it, man. You don't
Right.
understand. It's 3 hours long. It's 3 hours plus if you watch it all in the theater. I think
Right.
it was like 3.5 hours, and and um and I'm like, it's 3 hours plus, but you don't understand. When I was a kid, you could go to the theater and watch a double feature.
Right.
You
Like a dr-
that it
movie.
wa- In the '80s when I was a teenager, we had a second run theater downtown, and that's where I saw all like 90% of like all the films I saw was at the second run theater at the Roxy. It was $2. It was $1 a movie, to go in there. And the cool thing was is like, so say they're showing Friday the 13th, you know, uh Friday the 13th part 6. Okay, say they're showing that. Well, they're going to have a second feature that's going to go along with that. So they might be showing Friday the 13th part 5 along with part 6,
Right.
just to keep you updated. Or they might be showing you, another slasher like Sleepaway Camp 3. Just to, even though they don't come out in anywhere near the same year, right?
Right.
But they're like they're just trying to keep. It's like you're not going to see a fish called Wanda and Friday the 13th part 6
Right.
on the same night.
Right.
unless it's Jamie Lee Curtis night. And so I got it, man. I saw Grindhouse. I'm like, okay, cool. I get to go. I'm going to see. I'm paying a ticket now. So yeah, like I said, I'm paying one ticket to see two movies, and I thought that was awesome. And then you get all these fake trailers. The trailer I've always wanted to be turned into a movie was SS Women, or what is it? What's
Same.
the Rob Zombie one? The SS Werewolves of whatever, SS She Werewolf, whatever it was. I don't remember.
Werewolves of the SS. I think that's what it is.
Werewolf Women of the SS. Yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, with Nick Cage as Fu Manchu, and so yeah, and like
yeah,
it's so and and so I didn't realize that that Don't was like modeled after a certain movie, and I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that, and because
yeah.
that's the egg.
Don't was modeled after about four different movies,
Yeah.
because there was actually a trend in the '70s and early '80s. There was "Don't look in the basement," "Don't answer the phone." Uh, there was like two or three others. "Don't look in the basement's actually, or "Don't go in the basement" is actually a really good movie if you can find the because it's, again, I have like about four different copies on some of those collection things that were like really big, but they're all
Yeah.
chopped up. If you could find a full version of "Don't Go in the Basement" and "Don't Answer the Phone," um, "Don't Answer the Phone" is out there somewhere. So I grew up and live in Tucson, Arizona, a little town where movies are filmed. Tons of history here, Wolfie. Yeah, no kidding. Arizona, dude. I mean,
Yeah.
John Ford himself made a ton of movies out in Arizona. You know,
So, I think we've really touched on this, but we should probably get into the review a little bit. So
no, that's fine.
so far we've talked about the price of admission was worth the full price of buying the movie. We
Right.
enjoyed the trailer for it in Grindhouse, but so what do you think of the like the just the movie itself? Like did you? I thought the movie was fun. It was. I liked how it was pretty gory. I was actually kind of shocked at how gory it was in some scenes. And
I wasn't shocked. I wasn't shocked at that because of Cabin Fever, the
no,
original Cabin Fever.
I think it's just been a while since I've seen a modern gory, like a modern movie that's so
Yeah.
gory. That's what I meant. And then I liked how like it really did have me kind of like who was the killer of the who was the John Carver. Like it was really like because I read that or it was explained in the special features like he purposely like picked different people to play him or like how they did in Scream to kind of
Right.
keep type a little different each time. It's like who's that? Who's that? And I'm like, oh, I like that. And
I
um
Here's the sad thing. I kind of figured it out like in the first 10 to
I'm
20 minutes, you know, and
I
only because of the height. Because I remember seeing. I'm like, okay, there's the John Carver guy. I'm like, okay, stop it for a second. Kind of took a look at it. And I'm like, okay, there's the height, the build, you know. So I'm like, oh well, I can eliminate like the short chick,
yeah,
you know. She's not him. I can eliminate this person because he's built like a brick house,
right.
you know. Um,
I
so
think
unfortunately, I did that, and I was like, I think I know who it is, and if it's who I think it is, that's genius. Because the person that I'm thinking, this person doesn't do a lot of horror movies, and to have that person in the movie and be who the killer is, thumbs up, man.
uh what do you think of the inciting incident in the movie where the Black Friday riot?
Loved it.
Um, I did too.
Well, I
And
loved it because I've been going to you and I have been going to Black Friday forever,
yeah,
right? I mean, and I've been I again, Mama Wolf and I, we would get up like 2 in the morning and leave and go out and this was years ago, and go out and do everything and be there when the stores open up. Never. You always hear about these things happening like in Massachusetts or down in Florida. It's like, oh, 27 people trampled so 27 other people can get free TVs or something like that. It's like, and not free, but you know what I'm saying. I mean,
yeah.
it's like, hey,
Dirt-
I can get a 50-inch for like $27. I don't know why I'm saying 27 so much.
but I I worked
But
Friday, so like I know how hectic it can be, especially in that early on, especially setting up and everything. It's like because I worked at a Walmart that was 24 hours, but they didn't want to close it. So obviously, when we can't start setting up, customers were just lingering around and just getting in the way, and like you like
okay, that's understandable. I mean, I get that from your point of view, but again, you're not seeing people beat each other with a tickle me elbow so
right,
that they can get a really good deal on a microwave. You
right.
know, I mean,
Uh,
dude, I remember one year we went to Target and it was I've never seen, like I said, I've never seen anything like this. So I love that Eli Roth is expressing the stupidity of this
Mm-hmm.
stuff. But I remember going to Target one year, and it was the most hilarious thing. I don't know if you ever saw this, but uh, every basket, just with the exception of like ours and maybe like two or three others, every basket you saw someone pushing, they had a 6-foot teddy bear in it.
Oh, really?
These giant oversized. They're like, oh my god, we can get one of these for like $5. I'm gonna give it to my daughter Susie, and there was like giant boxes of these things, and it was hilarious because everybody had one. I'm like, what the hell is with the giant teddy bears?
I can picture it. It's just
I'm
like,
here for the movies. I'm here for the movies and DVDs. I really don't care about
all
whether or
right.
not Pinky gets a giant teddy bear or whatever. But everyone was pushing these Target carts with these giant teddy bears in them, and like I said, they had to be like 6 feet tall, and it was the most ridiculous looking. I think it's the most ridiculous looking thing I've ever seen on a Black Friday.
Fine. Um. So, I was actually like, oh, there was a couple points that kind of got me kind of like cringe and everything because like, ooh, that has to hurt because I know what it likes to hit. I know what it's like to hit your ankle with a shopping cart. So let alone getting hit in the face with a shopping cart like
Yeah.
that one. Now it's just like, oh man, like that
Oh, yeah.
that will ruin your day.
Ruined. Rick Hoffman. I love. So if you don't know who Rick Hoffman is, Rick Hoffman is the guy that he's the actor that plays the owner of the store,
You
right?
may know Suits, I think.
Huh?
You may know him from Suits, right?
See, I never watched Suits. I know him from Cabin Fever. I know him from Hostel.
Right, as the one.
He in Hostel. Yeah, in Hostel, he comes in. He's like, "How'd you do it? How'd you do it?" And right now, the hilarious thing is, I watched this, and then like not long after I watched this, there's a ELF commercial that's on with Judge Judy,
Yep.
and he's in it, and I'm like, what the hell? I just watched. I mean, these commercials weren't playing when these commercials were not playing when before I watched Thanksgiving. Like seems
That's
like after I watched Thanksgiving, I'm like okay, Rick Hoffman's back. He's the only person from any of Eli Roth's movies that shows up in this movie.
right. Regulars don't show up at all, don't it? Like I think it's just because we don't see
I
no
was
Jordan
really hoping to see Jordan Ladd in this movie.
or we don't see no who else was in there? He uses a
Oh,
lot,
James DeBello, Ryder Strong,
right?
uh,
Or
Serena Vincent,
or her name? I can't
Devin
think of
Sawa.
from
Um,
Knock Knock. Not Anna de Armas, the other one. Rodriguez,
Keanu.
Genesis Rodriguez, I think that's her name.
Oh, right.
I think she
Yeah.
was in
I mean,
Inferno as well, right?
right.
Yeah. So
You're talking about his ex-wife.
yeah, there we go. I'm like,
His ex. Yeah.
um, so yeah, yeah, like he's the only one that I from is just like um who he reused, and which I think he's perfect in the movie because because the whole through line throughout the movie is like after that incident, like everyone is telling him like you should cancel this event, but he's like, no, I don't want to. Like this is a big money, and
Well, it's hilarious. It's like the whole thing is Eli Roth has set on its ear Thanksgiving,
mm,
Black Friday. What Black Friday is Black Friday,
right,
but then over the years, Walmart and some other stores out there start holding Black Friday on Thanksgiving, and that's where this movie takes place. Is like you shouldn't have. Honestly, I kind of feel this way. Dude, just close the stores. You
Right.
know, I mean, Black Friday's still going to be there, and Black Friday has been ruined for the last couple of years
It has. It's not
because of the whole Thanksgiving thing. But yeah, so in the movie, Eli Roth's like, you know what, the consumer basically it's consumerism. It's what Dawn of the Dead
right.
was to George Romero.
Um.
You know, um, I
So we
like
have.
Rick Hoffman. Rick Hoffman plays the perfect douche. He
Oh,
really does.
he just like, and he just like he has a unique voice, and he just has a presence on screen. It's like different from.
He's got a really bizarre looking face. I hate to say this, but he's just one of those guys where you're like, oh, I know that guy.
Right.
The big, the somewhat puffy cheeks and the overbite, and he looks like the human version of a chipmunk. You know,
And it's like it's all in like respect because he's a great actor. I think
he
he's a.
really is.
Uh,
I agree.
so what do you think that like? So it's Eli Roth. He's definitely known for like we touched on this, like his gore and stuff like that. But like the kills in this movie are really good. Like especially during like the big Black Friday sequence where people are getting hurt. I think only one person actually died, which is the whole reason that the
The
movie.
whole
Uh, and then, but but there are some people who are like, ooh, did that person die? There's a few people that should have like they're probably injured for life for sure. But it's like, um,
yeah.
but the kills in this movie are really good. I like what is the kill for you in this movie? Like, what's the like
Ooh,
like
ooh. I I mean, the one that sets the whole thing off, the shopping cart to the head,
yeah.
was was pretty, pretty nasty.
I think the girl in the oven, that is a rough way to go.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
I and
We
like
see that's the thing about Eli Roth. So there are guys out there that make horror that they make horror movies, and they're like, but they're not horror fans,
hmm
and those are the people that kind of drive me nuts. They're like, oh well, I'm going to make a horror movie because I want to make a movie, and horror is like the easiest thing to make, so I'm just going to throw together this idea. And it turns out to be decent, but you can tell it's not done by a horror fan.
right.
Eli Roth is the complete opposite. He's one of us, you know? And so when you're sitting there and you're going, okay, well, when you find out that, Eli Roth's putting out like Thanksgiving, you're like, okay, cool. It's going to be written a certain way. It's going to be, and you're just kind of like, this is going to be the coolest thing ever because he's a fan. He's gonna the girl in the oven. That to me was him looking at the girl in the suntan booth in Final Destination
Oh yeah,
3. You know,
and just random.
because that's just you watch that movie and those two girls are stuck in those tanning booths and you're just kind of like that's tragic. That's the um. And so I think he's just kind of like looked at all the horror stuff over the years, and I think the reason this movie took so long to come out for him to make is because he wanted to get it right. He didn't
Yeah, I
just
think
want to do a quick job on it, because this is based, like you said before, it's based on the Thanksgiving trailer, but it's not. Because if you watch the Thanksgiving trailer in the movie, that was all about a kid that was in love with his turkey that didn't want to die. Dad wanted to kill a turkey for Thanksgiving,
hmm
and so the kid comes back and starts doing everything. This is all based on consumerism. And so I see Eli Roth going, little Dawn of the Dead, little Final Destination, stir well, and you got a souffle.
so
you
yeah,
know? Um, I, I think the one that sets it off, the shopping cart to the head, but I also like the way they got rid of John Carver.
Oh, yeah. So okay, so we're going to get into spoiler territory now, and that's kind of why I was saving Pat's question here because we have Patrick Dempsey in this movie. That's one like probably the biggest actor in the movie. Even though we talked about
Yeah.
Cliff quite a bit, but um, I was actually surprised.
See, and Pop just kind of like touched on it. Patrick Dempsey's in this, and he's like, "Can't Buy Me Love" is one of my favorite movies. It's one of my favorite movies too. But that's what Patrick Dempsey is known for. Patrick Dempsey is known for the rom com or the teenage film. He's not really known for being in horror movies.
Right, and
You
so
know,
when he was the villain in one of the Transformer movies, I was like, oh, this is kind of nice to see him kind of like outside his type. He's not typecasted as
he's not
he,
McDreamy.
so like, oh, that's nice to see him be a baddie. It was just like I
Yeah.
like, and then so it's like that's kind of just to go back a minute. It's when we were talking about how we kind of figured it out. It's like that's kind of to me they wouldn't have had such a big actor in this movie. To me, that kind of gave it away a little bit. But like at the same
Oh,
time,
see, I didn't think of that. I didn't think of that in itself. I just thought, oh, well, how cool would it be to have Patrick Dempsey in this and have him be the killer? I thought that to myself. I thought, oh, that'd be cool.
that's
Um, but then
that's
when you start looking at the size of everything,
well then. But I'm like maybe, but I'm like, well, today's day and age, movies aren't quite as predictable as they used to be, and stuff like that. And so I'm like maybe like sometimes they just get some big name actor and he just kind of plays that
to
particular
sell the
role.
movie.
Yeah. And but I'm like, well, I'm just like, this is Eli Roth, and he's like, they're not going to waste Patrick Dempsey. That's and so
I thought
uh,
about that. I thought, oh my God, is this going to be one of those times where I watch a movie and Patrick Dempsey's in it for like 5 minutes? Because every now and then there's a movie where they're like, oh, movie star Danny Trejo. And you're like, Danny Trejo's in it for like the first 5 minutes of the movie. And then like, it's all something else. You're like, okay, he got paid. He did this movie for a check. And I thought, well, it wouldn't surprise me if they said, hey, we'll get Patrick Dempsey, but he's gonna be limited. I was surprised that it wasn't that kind of thing.
but there was a moment where it casted doubt on my thing. It was like when he was leaning towards the very end of the movie, where he's laying in the middle of the road, kind of beaten up or whatever, and it's like, oh, like maybe like there was a quick little um cast a shadow of doubt, like okay, like maybe my assumptions is not quite as solid as I thought, and then
Right.
sure enough it then spun itself back around. It's like okay, but I did like how the dialogue and stuff throughout the movie paid off, like how they had a little line of dialogue where like most serial killers get caught by the simplest thing or the simplest mistake,
Right. Right. Yeah.
and I'm
The
just like,
dialogue is just great in this. Can I touch on one thing that needs to stop here now in future horror movies?
yeah, go right ahead.
And it just annoys the holy hell out. All movies, not just horror movies. Okay, I know that we're living in a modern age, and this is how people converse with one another. But
Uh,
if you're going to show a scene where someone is texting someone else, then you need to make it clear as damn day what is being said. Not the 2 second. Oh, look, you know, if you're putting it in a movie and you want me to read it, hold it up on the screen. If you don't want me to read it, don't put it in the movie. I don't care. I won't.
or
It
at
annoys the hell out of me.
Yeah, or have those little text bubbles that pop up, and just like, like just long enough to be like, this is the conversation we're having, or whatever. It's like you said, it's modern age and everything. Like everyone is on their phone and stuff, but like you said, like you just can't like do that, and like, well, that's you have to let us read it for a moment. Um,
And it happens. Oh, the other movie I got was Silent Night. That was the other one I bought.
oh, okay. With Hopper from
And they do it a lot in that damn movie too.
um, but yeah, like
Yeah, yeah.
so.
Um,
What,
yeah.
anything that you would have changed about this movie? Like, was there anything that was just kind
No,
of
not
like?
really.
So there's one for
I
me.
I I I like the casting. I like the story. I thought the
Oh,
production was done really well. It had a good look to it. Um, it fit. It really fit into the holiday horror
mhm,
genre. You know, Friday the 13th, Mother's Day. You know, all that. Uh, and the funny thing is that people are like, "Well, this is the first time we get a Thanksgiving horror movie." This is not the first time we've had a Thanksgiving horror movie. There's been about 4 of them before this. That's like when Silent Night, Deadly Night came out in 1984, and all the mothers got up in arms because the poster showed Santa Claus going down the chimney with an axe in hand. Right?
yeah.
That's the reason the movie got pulled from theaters 10 days after it was released.
Oh, really?
You know, um, yeah, the advertisement, psycho mothers were like, we don't want our little kids to see that Santa's carrying a bloody axe down the chimney. It's like okay, yeah. Well, where were you in 1980 with Don't Open Till Christmas or Silent Night, not Silent Night Deadly Night, but Silent Night Bloody Night of the 1970s. There was like about 8, Christmas horror, Black Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, Christmas horror movies that came out before this that no one blinked an eye at. But oh my God, all you're showing is the Santa suit because you don't even see Santa's face.
Right.
A chimney, you see a little bit of a Santa suit, a chimney, and an axe. And oh my God, that's gonna warp the kids' little minds. The '80s were so weird. You had people going after metal music because Ozzy wrote a song called "Suicide Solution," which was a tribute to Bon Scott, and some kid killed himself to it. Judas Priest got killed. Got killed. Judas Priest got sued because a kid committed suicide. Uh, you had Flipper Gore and the senators' wives all going after metal. You know,
Yeah.
it was a
And
really weird time. You had the Satanic Panic. You know, everyone's part of a cult.
oh, D and
I
D.
remember seeing a thing on yeah, because of D&D. You know, kids were playing D&D in the sewers and killing one another. Yeah, that never happened. Um, no, but I remember that these were the stories that were coming out. And then someone went on like one of those talk shows, like Phil Donahue, and said, I'm a member of the FBI, and in the last 10 years or something like that, of all the cult stuff that we've had to investigate, we've never had an actual case where we could connect it to Satanism. You know, there are cults. Jim Jones proved that, but
Right.
there's never one that dives into Satanism. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. But yeah, so um, yeah, it's kind of funny that that's what caused this panic. The '80s were really. I love the '80s, but the stuff that doesn't get touched on,
Right.
everyone thinks, oh, it was Boy George and Michael Jackson.
Mhm.
Maybe for that small little corner of the world, that's what it was. For a lot of us, it was Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, and
Right. It's 80s are a lot darker than people think it is. It's not just like um poofed up hair and moose, me too. Um
yeah, yeah.
so
We had Ronald Reagan as a president. Come on.
so
To quote
Ron,
Doc Brown,
yeah, that's what I was about
you
to say.
know,
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I
Um,
was gonna say Doc Brown's like, oh, no wonder your president's, because he's showing him the camera and he's like, oh, no wonder your president's an actor.
uh, so the one thing that I would change is the death of the waitress. That was the only thing that kind of bugged me. It was like when she gets cut in half with the dumpster lid and everything. Um,
I
I just
like
felt like
that though.
I liked it, but to me like that part of my brain, the practicality of my brain, like would it really work with that? But I liked the lead up to her death so good, like him just stalking her within that little diner and everything. I just like, oh, that was so superb. That was so good. And I
But
did
she
like,
deserved. I mean, honestly, she was a bitch. She deserved to
yeah,
die.
yeah, oh yeah, because she was one of the like main people in the riot too, because
Yeah,
for dying, the body count is mainly the people who are had part of the riot and everything, or at least predominantly shown during the
who
riot.
instigated the whole thing.
Yeah. I did like how oh yeah, we didn't talk about that one, the security guard who flew and he gets his head cut off and so with the cat and everything. I did like that where he goes and pets the cat.
Oh, okay, yeah. There's one thing we would have to change, right? My only question is what happens to the cat.
Right, like we have like, is the cat okay? I know he put some
The
food down.
movie gets over. The movie gets over, and I'm like, oh, what about the cat?
Yeah, right. Yeah, we need a little zinger at the end. Just be like the cat is like walking down the street or something, just
Well,
just
the he was getting out of town, and he's talking to the cat, and he's like, so so and so is going to come over and take care of you while I'm down in Florida or something like that. But we never see that person show up. They
yeah.
never. I mean, for all we know, they showed up and they just go, okay, well, let's put the cat in a shelter. The cops show up and they go, we'll just, we don't know what happens to the cat. A
That'd
really
be good.
creepy looking cat too, man. That's the
Right?
same cat that they. That's the same cat that they used as Church in the new Pet Cemetery.
Like the remake or like Bloodlines
Yeah, the remake.
remake. Okay. Um. So yeah, I'm trying to think what else.
I haven't seen the Bloodlines yet, so
Same. I haven't pulled the trigger on that one. But so overall, um, how'd you like? So we'll. This is the really big spoiler. Like, all right, Patrick Dempsey it was Jonathan Carver the whole time. We know why and everything. Um, and because like the woman who was killed, who was played by Gina Gershon, which we haven't even mentioned as well. She is killed
I
in the
haven't
riot,
mentioned no. Yeah,
and she and is going to basically leave her husband and, and start like date or whatever
she's in
with.
love with the sheriff.
Right, exactly. And
Yeah.
because sheriff is just like those two have, you can tell something was going on just because they had really good chemistry on screen and everything. And
Okay.
so
See, I did not pick up on that, and then I didn't. I'm like, oh, they're to me that's me going over to like a friend's house. That's it's like, oh, my going to go over hang out with my friend and his wife. I'm really good friends with. I have a buddy named Fozzie and his wife Sin. You know, and if I was to go over there and I'd be like, oh, hey Sin, I'd give her a kiss on the cheek. It doesn't mean anything. I've known Fozzie since the '80s,
mhm.
and she's just a really good friend. So I didn't pick up on the chemistry thing because to me, I don't always think everybody's trying to do something.
Well, I didn't think too much of it, but there was some dialogue that he said, like, yeah, she would come over and help and cook and and whatever. I was just kind of like, well, like you wouldn't do that if there wasn't something kind of there. So that's kind of like, so yeah, and but like I like
I
what
didn't think that.
at the time I was giving the movie the benefit of the doubt, like maybe this is all one giant red herring. You know, they're setting this all up for a reveal that we missed, like that we should have picked up on, but we missed. And like I'm just like rooting for that. But like I liked Patrick Dempsey as the killer of the
Yeah,
movie, and I liked how he was dispatched as well, with going down in the flame of glory, and even how he was revealed during a live stream and everything. And I like that kind of using technology against. Um,
I'm all for that, man. I'm just so over the whole texting thing.
so, um, so overall, like, what would you rate this movie? Like obviously they left the movie open for a possible sequel, because we didn't
Right.
see the body, Jonathan Carver's
Which is a
body,
nod to Halloween.
and so yeah, and so yeah, like, what would like? Do you think this is a modern slasher classic?
Oh, dude, yeah, this is definitely a instant classic.
I
This has to go. This has to go into a lot of people's rotations. Like when they're like, okay, I want to sit down and watch uh, holiday slasher films. You know, it's like, oh, I'm gonna put in Mother's Day. I'm gonna put in My Bloody Valentine. I'm gonna put in Thanksgiving. You know, I mean, this really needs to go into those rotations
right.
for
No,
the people that are in. I mean, I'm into that, so I'm not saying the people that are into, but I'm just saying I'm into that kind of stuff. So it's like I'll definitely be watching this. This is not a one and done movie.
oh,
You don't just sit down and watch this and go, okay, I've seen it. This is something you go back to. I mean, go back to and you watch it again, and you might discover more stuff. I mean, I
I'm sure.
honestly, the conversation that you're talking about between Gina Gershon and Patrick Dempsey, to me, it's just a friend being a friend, coming over and helping out with cooking. I mean, honestly, that's all it was, you know. But I see where you could think that. And let's talk about Gina Gershon for like a brief minute.
No problem.
This woman, no, this woman is an incredible actress. She
I she's very
she's not as well known as she should be. You know, I mean,
and
she's been in some pretty damn big movies.
all right. I like she's in like say what say what you will about Showgirls. She's in that.
Okay, it's crap, but you're right.
Right, like the movie, one of the highlights of the movie. You got Bound by the Wachowski
Down.
sisters. Yeah. Which I really enjoy that movie a lot, um, for a multitude of reasons. If you've never seen that
Yeah.
movie, what else? What else? I see. I know. I'm drawing a blank on a few more. But but she's like very good. She has a
She's an
very
incredible actress.
yeah. Uh,
And she's, you know, I mean, she's in her what? She's in her 50s?
I'm gonna
Maybe.
bet yeah.
I mean, I mean, well, I'm thinking Bound came out in 93, I think it was.
Yeah, I was gonna say
I mean, it's
94.
that old.
Yeah, at least 93, 94. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so it's at least 30 years old,
Yeah, yeah.
you know. So, I mean, if she's in her 20s and that, she's in her 50s now,
Mm.
you
Uh,
know.
yeah, and
But she's still, dude, she's still hot as all get out. She really
and
is.
she like you always like know when she's on screen too. You can't they don't like she's not a background act. She like if she's gonna be on
No,
screen, she be on screen.
she's a
And
presence.
right, and that's when I was like I didn't know she was in this, and like that's always kind of a nice to see sometimes, like when they reveal the cast and everything, or like who's in it. Like sometimes like um not everyone gets mentioned, and then like us, like oh, she's in this, that's awesome, or like so
Yeah, it's funny because I didn't know Rick Hoffman was in this movie,
same. Like
and
I
then when he shows up at the beginning, I'm like, oh, he cool. I know I'm in for a treat because he plays the douche so well, you know.
um so yeah, we both agree that it's definitely going to be a modern horror slasher classic, especially
Yeah,
in the holiday, because we all, like you said, we have our holiday specific movies that we like to watch on holidays, like even non-horror movies, like that we like to watch on just random fun days. Like I like to watch
yeah.
Evil Bomb on 420 or Pineapple Express, one of those two movies, just for the fun of it. Or one of the bigger ones, like Star Wars on May 4th. It just kind of like it's Thanksgiving is perfect for that kind of like,
Yeah.
let's watch a fun movie. Like you don't need to like, and it's a relatively short movie, and it has a lot of good kills.
It
A lot of
actually is. I'm kind of surprised about that.
right,
You know,
and so um, any final thoughts on the movie? I'm sure we'll go back to it
I
in the video,
no,
but
I mean, my final thoughts on the movie are: if you haven't seen Thanksgiving, then give it a chance.
mhm.
It's it might not be your cup of tea, but like Max says, um, definitely. I mean, when we get, I always have a problem with your rating system because you have the you have the thing where it's like watch with friends. I want people to watch this with friends, but I feel that should be higher.
I may I may tweak it a little bit this year, because I think
You know, because to me that's more of an honor than anything. It's like, well, you can sit at home and watch this movie by yourself and enjoy it. But
see that
if you want to sit around with a bunch of people and watch with friends, you know, that you might get into the horror genre. I mean, there might be people that are like, it's just not my thing. And it's the thing that drives me nuts about people when I'm out and about and I talk to people, I'm like, oh yeah, I love horror. And they're like, I don't like slashers. Okay, you do realize that horror is more than just slashers.
right.
Zombie films are horror. You know, The Walking Dead is horror. You know,
So okay,
but I I say definitely you got to watch this with people. Yeah, this well, watch it by yourself the first time. That way, if you watch it with people, if they're talking, they're not
right,
annoying you and you've seen it.
right.
But give it a
It's like
chance. I say give this movie a chance.
for
You
sure.
know, that
I had fun watching it.
that's what I think. I mean, I love this movie.
It was
Yeah.
and I did like, there was one character we had not touched on yet, but we'll do real quick, was the boyfriend, like the boy who was kind of into the girl but was the friend or whatever, and he started becoming what, uh, when they come after the
Are we talking about the ex-boyfriend or are we talking about the modern boyfriend after the ex-boyfriend comes back?
the modern boyfriend after the riot, like his
Okay.
personality, and it was just kind of like he went from like he did like oh, maybe he's the one who that was my next guess. Like he could have been um
I did think that at one point, he had the right build, but it didn't make
and
sense to me.
then because when they cut off the mascot's head, and it was supposed to be him underneath there, and then he gets shown, like he goes missing for a good while, and it's like, oh, okay, and then he shows back up and everything, but it's just like, okay, and but yeah, it's like I thought he would have been a good killer or reveal, and just for some reason maybe um
So the
go ahead.
the ex-boyfriend Bobby, the ex-boyfriend Bobby. Um, when the movie started and you know, John Carver comes out and starts killing people, and
Mhm.
I stopped it. I'm like, well, the one person I know who it's not. I know it's not Bobby because Bobby was like 3'2".
Yeah, um
You
so
know?
like that's when like that's the like well like that's when like oh when we start dissecting that makes it a good horror movie is when you start dissecting the killer more than anything. It's like oh like he walks like this or like if like when you start paying attention to people's injuries and like oh is he limping, does he like or is he like holding his head a certain way or whatever, you know. It's like that's when you like I think that's a perfect I think that's a good way of like hiding or revealing or giving clues and stuff like that. But it's like but or just keeping the audience engaged, I should say. It's just like it's like oh
Yeah.
and so
I just knew it wasn't Bobby, and they kept on trying to sell us on the fact that it was
yeah
Bobby. I'm like, dude, you do realize that
this
most of the cast, including the girls, are taller than him.
yeah
And he's supposed to be the quarterback. You know, he's the high school
yeah
quarterback. You know, and it's like he can't see over the offensive line, let alone be a quarterback.
yeah yeah they were so hard with him. It's like oh
I
he
don't get me wrong. I like the actor. I thought the
yeah
character was good, but that was the one hard sell that I'm like, I'm not buying it. And if it turns out it is Bobby, this is crap.
which which the reveal for the killer it was fitting because he was a kind of a bigger guy like he was like Patrick Dempsey built and everything, and it's like it was perfect. So
Yeah.
so we agree you should check it out and put it in your horror movie holiday rotation for sure.
Yeah, at least give it a chance. I
Yeah.
mean, that's what I say. Give it a chance. Don't just go, oh, it's a slasher film. This is actually a really well done slasher movie.
Hmm.
Really, it's not your it's not your hack and slash. It's not your it's not just a thrown together. Hey, let's make a quick buck. This is
No,
this is a movie made by a horror fan for horror fans.
and to me this kind of stands up over the last few screens because at this point you're expecting a reveal, like a big reveal at a Scream, where this one is like you are legit just having a fun with the ride. You know, it's like you're like
Yeah,
you know what I mean, like Scream. It's like we know there's something going to like be happening at the end of the movie. Like it's going to be the whole like the bad like you know the Bond villain explanation is going to be happening at the end of the movie and everything. And where like this one is like you just progressively just like oh he's picking off people from the riot or
yeah,
this or
yeah,
that and like where Scream is like they're all like interconnected like where the other one's like other one seems a little bit more fair game on everybody. Like there's a couple that aren't, but yeah. Um so as of like last time I wrote down 10 questions and we'll talk about them. Like I come up with a new couple new categories. So the first new category is filmography battle. I'm going to give you two movies
ooh,
from the same director's filmography, and and you just pick out which one's your favorite. And
okay, okay, okay,
I tried to pick out movies that were kind of different but the same, just because of like like
Similar.
yeah, like oh
Okay.
you'll so the first director is Ron Howard.
I get what you're
Uh,
saying.
okay, I picked Backdraft and Apollo 13. I picked those two because of how the technical aspects of the filmmaking, like using live fire and like how they made the guys float in space. You know, the illusion of them floating. Like these are very technical
Right.
films of. So I'm like okay. So and I have and plus I have a history of both films, so that's why I'm like okay. But like, what one did you like more?
Oh man, that's a really good one. When you said Ron Howard, I'm like, oh man, I wonder what he's gonna pick. And I love Apollo 13 um, because it happened. It's a piece of history. This is
Right.
what we get to watch history unfold itself. Um, it has Tom Hanks. It has you know Bill Paxton in it. Kevin
Bacon.
Kevin Bacon's in that. Yeah, Kevin Bacon's in
Yeah.
that. Had to think for a second. You got the whole Howard family in that. Clint and his mom, and
Right.
so it makes for it makes for really really cool that like view of history that happened. And they got Backdraft. Oh my God, Backdraft. Um,
I like.
this
Uh,
is this is De Niro. This is De Niro. This is Billy Baldwin. Jennifer Jason Leigh. Just that alone, Jennifer Jason Leigh. You know, I've had a crush on her forever.
yeah,
Um,
Donald for a moment.
you
Uh,
know, uh,
Scott Glenn, I think that's
between
his.
the two, okay. So between the two, fair enough. Apollo 13 is a view of history and the unfolding, and we get to see how they did it all.
Right.
Backdraft, on the other hand, is a mystery.
It's basically
It,
if you kind it's a serial
it,
killer movie, a
it
slasher.
it's a yeah, it's a
He's killing people.
mystery. You know, it's Scream before Scream, basically. It's a who done it, kind of thing. So I'm gonna honestly, and I'm kind of surprised. I'm gonna go Backdraft. I mean, between the two, I love Backdraft, and dude, you get to see Jennifer Jason Leigh naked, so I mean, that's always a plus.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Backdraft as well, just because the whole aspect of firefighting has always been kind of like early on in my childhood, just because my dad and uncle
But you
and
don't
my
watch
grandpa.
Chicago Fire.
No, to me, I like the more. I don't know why I don't like that, or just something about that just doesn't appeal to me. But I want it in movie form. I just like, I do like Rescue Me. So like, um, I don't know why, but
Yeah, watched all of that.
we talked about that. Yeah. Okay, so we both agree Backdraft, even though like there's nothing against Apollo 13, like that is a fantastic movie. But just Backdraft to me is the one that I've rewatched more, and I just have I'm just Kurt Russell has always been a favorite of
Kurt
mine.
Russell's awesome. I
So
mean, yeah.
um and there for the longest time, I didn't realize Kurt Russell played dual roles in that movie. So like, had like plays the dad and the son in the movie. And so okay,
Right.
the next director is James Cameron. We're picking Aliens and Terminator 2.
Uh,
Both sequels to
both
um,
sequels, both sci-fi. Uh, neither one of them is horror, as much as people want them to be. And again, you know, one's got Bill Paxton in it. Um,
All right.
Apollo 13 has Bill Paxton in it.
You think I did
um,
that?
man, I'm gonna. I think I'm gonna go with Aliens on this one.
Oh yeah.
Basically, because I don't get me wrong, they both have stellar casts. Um, but I mean, as much as as much as I love Terminator 2, and I do love it, uh, I kind of burned out on the whole Terminator thing.
So um,
You know,
I'm trying to look at these two as like as like just strictly those two movies, but sometimes those later movies do kind of like make a difference on like if I like this movie as much as I do nowadays because
well, I'm thinking about just the two movies too, but I'm just saying. I mean, between from 1992 until I don't know, maybe 15 years ago, Terminator 2 was always on TV.
okay,
Always. And I'm not, it's, you know, you get
I
to
get
the point where you're just kind of like, I mean, to me, it's a good movie, but a great movie. I can go, oh, I'll watch that again. I'll watch that again, and it's not Pulp Fiction, is what I'm saying. It
yeah,
says Pulp Fiction, I don't care what part of the movie's on. I'm going to flip it on and I'm going to watch it.
same.
Even I've seen that movie like it has to be close to like 1,000 times, but I'm not burned out on it. Whereas Terminator 2, it's good.
But not great.
It's a good movie. It's as good as the original, but it doesn't hold into that parthenon of greatness. I mean, effects wise, yes. The liquid metal Terminator, Robert Patrick,
Hmm.
Edward Furlong, all the great soundtrack. They even had Guns N' Roses do a song for the movie.
Right.
But I think Aliens holds up a little bit better,
So that's
you
my
know?
choice. Aliens as well, is because I think Aliens flows better because there's scenes in Terminator 2 that just drag on. Like they needed to get Linda Hamilton out of that insane asylum faster than they did. Just a little bit faster.
Ah,
Or
but the scene where Arnold shows up with the shotgun
Mhm.
in the flower thing.
Yeah,
Okay, do you understand? It's Guns N' Roses.
that's funny. I didn't pick up on that. That's because I and like to like speak on that. I was the only one in the whole theater when they did that song reference in Salvation when they put the little boombox on the radio on the ground to just to like to bring out some of the other robots. And I'm like, oh, that's the Guns N' Roses song out loud, and everyone's like, what? And I'm like, you guys suck. Like you guys like come on, like it's a song that he grew up listening to,
You guys suck. Yeah,
So we both agree
you
on
guys
Alien.
suck.
uh,
I love that.
all right, this one might be a little tougher. It's Scorsese. And so I picked either
Okay,
you got Goodfellas and
Casino.
Casino as well. I think it.
Yeah, that's an easy one.
Oh, okay.
Joe Pesci does a really good job in both movies, but I just think I like the story to Casino better than Goodfellas. Goodfellas is okay, but what you were just saying about Terminator, there are a lot of parts in Goodfellas that kind of drag,
Gotcha.
you know, and it's a
Mm.
good movie, but I can watch Casino over and over and over, whereas Goodfellas, I have to be in the mood to watch Goodfellas.
And the soundtrack for Casino is like phenomenal. Like,
Yeah.
um, and like the cast is
Dude, James Woods in Casino, the
yeah.
biggest sleazoid ever. You know, my favorite line in Casino, you know, is at the beginning where they're they're doing the voiceover, and Joe Pesci's kind of like, you know what, we were doing really good, but we really fucked things up. Then
Oh,
then you watch the movie. There's no we in this whatsoever. The person that screwed everything up is the guy that just made that statement.
right. Yeah, that's good. That's a pretty good Joe Pesci too. I like that. So okay, so we both agree on Casino. So
Well,
our-
okay. In all fairness, my cousin Vinny is one of my favorite movies.
yeah,
I've probably seen My Cousin Vinny as much as I've seen um, Pulp Fiction,
okay.
and every time I see like an owl in a movie, I have to quote the line, "What the hell is that?"
Oh man, I like yeah. I like My Cousin Vinny because it's a very good. I think we talked about this. My Cousin Vinny's a good courtroom movie too. You know, it's not just
Yeah,
it's it's a good like yeah crime
it's a good
court.
comedy. I mean, yeah, Mrs. Farkas, and
Yeah,
only Mrs. Farkas.
yeah,
No one could have played the
yeah.
judge
How many
except
fingers?
Fred Gwynn.
Yeah, it's like
Let the
oh
record show that he's holding up two fingers. Judge.
that grits cooks fast. Yeah, you know, just I love
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So okay, next
yeah.
set of questions is what movie comes to mind? I'm going to give you 1 to 2 words, and you give me what movie comes to mind. Um,
Okay, word association. Okay.
yeah, there you go. Okay, number one, natural disaster.
Natural disaster. I mean, it's earthquake.
Oh yeah, mine's Twister. Kind of go back with Bill
That's
Paxton. Like I didn't realize I did
the
a lot of Bill Paxton stuff.
movie, earthquake.
What'd you say? Sorry, you kind of.
Yeah, yeah. The all of a sudden the I got the spinning wheels on my screen for a second.
Oh, you're good.
Like I'd lost your. Yeah, yours is Twister. That's
Yeah,
understandable, but is that's another Bill Paxton movie?
yeah, but
I'm
Twister was
I'm
always
I'm recognizing a little bit of a theme.
so by accident. I didn't. I honestly did not like pick this up. I honestly didn't. Like if I like, I really didn't mean to.
No, I'm
So
just teasing,
I know, but I'm just like, oh man, I really did, didn't
man.
I? So like why earthquake?
Earthquake. I mean, when you said natural disaster, it was like the first thing that popped in my head, and it's just one of those. It was one of those movies that came out in the '70s where
Okay,
it was a star-studded. It's a star-studded movie. The movies you don't see made nowadays. I mean, The Towering Inferno,
right,
Poseidon Adventure, and Earthquake all had this, giant cast of
right,
like just everybody. And you don't. I mean, you do occasionally see it, but if you want to do that today, if you owned a movie company and you're like, okay, I want to get Jennifer Lawrence, Tom Hanks,
right.
who else?
Peter,
Just name like 10 really, really well-known actors, right? Brad
right.
Pitt, you know, I want to get
Robert
all these
Downey.
people. I want to put them in a movie together. Yeah, I want to do that. Well, they're gonna say, okay,
Right.
show us the dollars. It's like, dude, come on.
We're gonna
You're talking like you're going broke.
yeah. It's like we're gonna
You
remake.
might get Tom Hanks for a song, but if you
Yeah.
put Tom Cruise in that movie, that song, and then like half of the residuals, and it's like, dude,
Yeah.
it's one of those movies. I always like the those movies of the 70s where you just can't see it anymore. Dude, the Towering Inferno had Fred Astaire, Paul Newman, and Steve McQueen in it.
Right.
Fred Astaire.
Is
I mean, at that time, he was on his way out.
is Washington State like prone to earthquakes?
We do have them on occasion,
Okay.
but I mean, the last really big one we had was the Nisqually earthquake, and that was like early 2000s. And everyone keeps on, you hear it on the news, and they're like, well, we're due for the real big one soon. It's like, no, we're not, dude. If I mean, we had we in May 18th, 1980, Mount St. Helens blew up.
Right.
I mean, that was like probably one of the worst things that happened in the state, and only a handful only a handful of people died. you know
Yeah.
so
No,
uh yeah,
that like
we do have earthquakes here, but we're more, if you're gonna die here, you're gonna die of a flood.
okay. I didn't influence your pick because where I'm at, it's Tornado Alley, part Tornado Alley and
Right.
stuff.
Yeah.
Just within, I think, just last year, a tornado kind of hit a little close to home, and so
I remember that. I wrote you and said, are you okay?
yeah,
Yeah.
like tornadoes have like I've always been kind of been very what's it called, what's that word, it's just been just something I've been
Prominent.
yeah, prominent about, and it's like, oh, tornado watch, tornado warnings, and just kind of just been just like fascinated with the aspect of how a tornado works. And, like, this is just, and I
Yeah.
know the movie is very very dramatic, like but just for the most part, it's like tornadoes in general has just been kind of like
My
fast.
only problem with Twister is it's got Helen Hunt in it.
Oh really?
Can't stand her.
But it has Philip Seymour in it, you know.
No, I get that.
I'm just like, just throwing it out there. Okay,
Yeah.
so the next word is revenge.
Ooh, revenge.
Yeah.
I had something, but the title wasn't popping. What? Death Wish. Let's just go with Death Wish.
Oh, that's a good one.
The original Death Wish with Charles Bronson. Uh, it's it is what it is. I mean, dude, this guy goes through between the first two movies, Death Wish and Death Wish 2, the amount of crap that happens to him and his family is just, the rubber band would snap on anybody. It
Right.
really would. I mean, you know, um, you would lose it. And the fact that he actually holds his composure as much as he does, you know,
Speaking of Eli Roth, he directed the remake of Death Wish 2, right? Like TOO, not like TWO. Like he directed the one with Bruce Willis.
that was just a remake of Death Wish.
Yeah, no, I
Um,
was like it's like keeps going full circle, like Eli Roth.
oh,
And
I think he did.
I don't know. I but mine was Kill Bill 1 and 2. I just like that whole revenge story. I probably could think of a better one, but I just those are
No,
the
that's
or
Kill
a
Bill one. That's a
obscure one, I should say.
I'm not trying to go obscure when I make my choices. I'm just going with what
Yeah,
with
that's well, that's why with Kill Bill, because that's the one that like just like popped into my head straight away. Like when I think of revenge movies, like oh, I just love the
yeah.
mashup in those movies. Plus, it's following the bride and taking revenge on the people who wronged her and everything. I'm just like I loved it, and like I'm like I hope he releases the full whole bloody affair one day. I just want to see that so bad. The whole
My
so
favorite thing, my favorite scene in that movie is where she's trying to get her foot to move.
yeah, it's like wiggle big toe.
Wiggle the big toe.
I I did that to Ariel one day. We were just talking, and it's like because she couldn't do something, and I'm just like, wiggle your big toe, and it's like what are you talking about? I'm like, it's like oh, but I had to describe the whole scene. Like it's like she's trying to will herself to move her
So,
big toe. Been in atrophy for so long and a coma and here you are you're trying to like make something happen, so I'm just like wiggle your big toe.
so have you ever watched the British TV show Red Dwarf?
I've not watched it, but I know of it.
Okay, so there's so I honestly believe that Tarantino took the wiggle the big toe thing
Uh-huh.
from a scene in season 7 of Red Dwarf. Because at one point, one of the main characters, his name is David Lister, right? Dude,
Mm-hmm.
you honestly, I think if you found out, I mean, you know about the show, but I mean, I think if you sat down and watched it, you would get a kick out of it.
Okay.
It's British comedy in outer space. So Dave Lister um, is is he's a crewman. Couldn't think of the word on the space mining ship Red Dwarf. And at some point in time, he goes into stasis, right?
Yeah.
Because they all have to go into stasis at some because it takes so long for the ship to turn around to go to a different place. And while he was in stasis, there was a leak, and everybody on the ship died.
Oh,
So he
okay.
wakes up. He wakes up. There's like all these piles of like ash or whatever around, and he's walking around. He's like, "What's this?" He doesn't know what it is. He's coming out of it, and
Yeah.
they're like, "Well, that's the computer for the ship goes, well, that's Crew Kachansky." And he's like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, you just ate And he's like, he finds out. But so that's like the very first episode of season 1. Then you get to season 7, and he loses an arm.
Okay.
And they found they found what was somewhere like along season 3 they found a mechanoid, which is another word for robot,
Yeah.
that they have as a main character on there, and he installs a new arm onto Lister, and it's this beefed up, this jacked up arm. He's got this little tiny arm over here, and he's like, tell your body to lift the arm. Tell your body to lift and he's like, oh, oh. He's like, oh my God, and there's a big joke about, can you imagine what it'd be like if I had to wipe my butt or something like that? I mean, because he's exhausted just lifting his arm.
That's great.
And that whole scene right there, I think that's where it's kind of stuff that I'm thinking Tarantino would be, going, oh, okay, yeah. Move
I
the
can
big toe.
like he's like one of the king. He's like one of the kings of like obscure knowledge, and just like because I'm reading one of his books, cinema speculation, where he just basically just reviews movies but he reviews them through his experience of watching them, and it's so
Yeah.
good. And he just some of the like the way he describes these movies, like, dude, you are like smart when it comes to movies. And so it's like, and same with Eli Roth, like he's like, you're smart too when you're like, he's a different kind of movie smart when it comes to like the exploitation slasher movies and stuff. So okay, and finally, the last word is car.
Car.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm not going to say the car. No, Vanishing Point was the first. I mean, you said car, the car came to my mind, but I'm thinking Vanishing Point. Um, Mainly just because it's one of those movies where I mean everyone knows Bullet, everybody
Mm-hmm.
knows Gone in 60 Seconds, the Nick Cage one. Um, and a lot of people know Death Proof, but Death Proof is a nod to Vanishing Point. They mentioned Vanishing Point in that movie. They mentioned Kowalski and
Yeah.
but but it's just one of those movies that kind of gets not thrown aside, but kind of glossed over, you
Yeah.
know, when talking about car movies. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
dude, the original Gone in 60 Seconds had something like the world record for the most cars destroyed,
Yeah.
you know. Uh, But Vanishing Point has Kowalski. Kowalski's one of the coolest characters. I mean, it's such a cool character that Tarantino did Death Proof
Mm-hmm.
as a nod to it, and Audio Slave, the band, did a whole video for one of their songs, and it's a complete nod to the movie Vanishing Point. They got the car, they got Cleavon Little as the guy in the radio booth,
Oh,
you
that's cool.
know.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it it's there. It's just something, and I love it. I just think it's the most in the 70s. You know, there were car movies. There was a Gumball Rally and all that, and everyone's always doing something, and Smoking the Bandit. Hey, I bet you can't get from here to here. You
Mm.
know, hauling alcohol. You know, for so much money. That's basically Vanishing Point, but he's got to get from Colorado to San Francisco in 24 hours,
Right.
or and it's all about a bet for drugs.
Yeah.
It's not even. It's like, oh yeah, well, I'll give
It
next time around. I'll pay you double on the uppers. If not, they're free or something like that. And it's like,
uh,
okay. And if you ever watch the British version of that movie,
I think I have
because
that.
yeah, I have Vanishing Point, and it's on a flipper disc.
Oh, okay.
I hate. And one
Yeah.
side is the U.S. release, and the other side is the British release. The only difference between the U.S. release and the British release is that in the British release, he picks up a hooker and he has sex with her in the car,
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
and and yeah, and that pretty much is not in the American, not at all. But I really do. I like Barry Sullivan as Kowalski. I like Cleavon Little as the radio DJ. Um, who thought that driving from one state to another could be that interesting? And it really is Smokey and the Bandit. I mean, you look at it and you go, I mean, Hal Needham's going, I could make that movie with Burt Reynolds and
Uh, so speaking of going from point A to B, my when I think of car is the Interceptor from Mad Max.
Okay. Yeah.
That that's my car. Like as much as I love the DeLorean or the Charger from Dukes of Hazzard
Dude,
or
I love the DeLorean and back to yeah,
go
I
ahead.
love the DeLorean and Back to the Future, but if you know the truth about the DeLorean, it doesn't hold up.
Yeah,
So
it's
John DeLorean built this car, right? He worked for GM in the 60s. He's the guy that created the Pontiac GTO. Um, he took a 1963 Tempest and he put all these racing parts on it, and it was his personal car. And people were like, "Oh, this is way so cool." So he would people that worked there would say, "Can we borrow your car?" He'd take them out, and they and he was all about horsepower.
mm,
And so he kept on pushing the envelope and pushing the envelope at GM until they said, "We don't want you anymore. There's an oil crisis coming, and we need cars that are reliable, not gas guzzlers." So bye. Well, in 1972, this guy up in Canada came out with what was called the SVW, the SV1. It was called a Bricklin. Look it up. I mean, what? Seriously, look up Bricklin SV, safety vehicle one,
mm,
and it's the DeLorean 10 years before the DeLorean is even
okay.
created. The DMC-12. You know, I mean, it's the same body style. It's got the gull wings. So obviously, John DeLorean was up in Canada at some point, going, "I could build that car."
Yeah,
So he finally finds financiers. He can't build the car here in England, so he goes to Ireland and he gets this warehouse where he sets things up. Only problem is he can build the car, but he can't get a motor for it. So what's he get? He gets a Peugeot. He gets Peugeot to give him motors because he's not going to get motors from anyone in Detroit. Ford, Chevy, and Dodge are not going to give their former employee and two former rivals. They're not
yeah.
going to say, "Yeah, we're going to throw a Ford motor or a Dodge motor in this." So he gets Peugeot. Peugeot says, Here's a little six-cylinder that we're using in our cars, a six-cylinder." The car barely gets up to 55 miles an hour in real
Yeah,
life.
yeah, and plus the stainless steel body didn't help either, and
That-
um,
That's the other thing. The whole body is that's stainless steel panels
yeah,
on a fiberglass body.
that car was destined to fail. That's what like, but yeah, like,
Well,
um,
what failed was the fact that he was a cocaine importer.
oh, you know that, but yeah, I, I, there's obviously more iconic cars, but just like when the Interceptor gets first introduced in the first Mad Max, like they're doing the they're chasing down that dude, and he's just like he's outrunning everybody. It's like we like, and then they call like basically like, all right, we need you, and like how they introduce him, and it's just like, oh, it's like he's the Interceptor, and it's like they're just waiting on him. He's like, man, like Max is just waiting on him, just like, and
So it's a 1972 Ford Falcon, Australian body, XB with a Falcon hood on it, and it's a beautiful car. You can't get the body style over here in America. You actually have to buy if you want to have a Interceptor. You got to buy from Australia because that body style wasn't part of the American. The we had Fords here, but we had Torinos and we had all these other ones, but we didn't have the 72 Ford Falcon body XB body here in America. It was just over there. So if you want it, you gotta buy it and build it and put the 8-to-1 blower on it that you
Oh
can
man,
turn off with the switch,
yeah, like
which makes
and
no sense.
and it was just I just like that car, and I don't know, and plus I like how it progressively just gets more and more beat up throughout the whole franchise and everything, and like and
Oh
eventually
yeah, yeah.
kind of
No, it
stripped for parts and in Fury Road. But yeah, so
Monza front end. It's a beautiful car, man.
oh yeah, um, what car did you have? Oh, the Challenger. Sorry.
I had the
Uh,
Challenger from Vanishing Point.
all right. So the next ones are just Q&A questions. They're no word association or anything. Just to kind of get to know like where your mind is at. First question. These are questions 7, 8, and 9. Um, does the perfect movie exist?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
mean, there's a few really good examples, and I'm going to step out of the horror genre. And I mentioned this movie before, but I think The Searchers is
Oh
probably
yeah.
the perfect movie.
See, I think
You
Jaws is.
know, Jaws is another good example. But yeah, I think the perfect movie exists. I mean, there's like I said, there's many examples. Jaws, Searchers. Um, yeah, I mean, but it's out there, and that's the problem is that I think too many people try to make the perfect movie.
Hmm.
They're like, okay, well, another good example. We'll go back to Scorsese. Hugo.
Oh yeah.
Hugo was the perfect movie for people that they're like, well, it's not a Scorsese film. It's like it is a Scorsese film, but it's just from a different. He doesn't have Hugo blowing everyone's head off or putting their head in a vice or you know,
Dropping the F bomb every 5 seconds.
yeah.
uh,
Um, but yeah, I think the perfect movie exists. I think there's a lot of examples out there that can, you know,
kind of
can
fit the bill.
uh can help. Yeah, kind of fit the bill.
Oh no,
What about you?
what'd you say?
Oh, that's right. You said Jaws.
Yeah, I would say Jaws, and like even like you said, like Hugo, that was a pretty good one. Or like I would like put like Iron Giant as well, like the animated movie. I thought that was like fantastic. Um,
I saw it
and
once. I don't really remember it, so
I really liked it. And even like I know like like the whole idea of a perfect movie is subjective and everything, but it's like but like for the most part, like if you can really sit there and think like there's really like no flaws from like and for the most part like you got a strong first, second, and third act, great acting, great characters. Like to me,
exactly.
like, even like movies that may be like not as pretty looking or rough around the edges and stuff like that, they can still be perfect movies just because they
Going
flow
back
really
to what
well.
we first to what we were Thanksgiving was a perfect movie.
Yeah, like you have the inciting incident, which is the Black Friday riot,
Yeah,
and then like as the result of that you kind of see how this world has changed and everything. So yeah, it's like perfect is definitely like has a scale, but it's like but it's but for the most part, yeah, I agree. um
I'm with you. As
so
long as you don't have any major flaws in it, where you're like where logic where it jumps logic, where you're like, just a second, why am I looking at this guy? He died like 3 scenes ago, and now he's running around with
like
as long as there's no like weird logic jumps, you know,
I would put like
you know, uh,
I would put Pulp Fiction on that list. It would be a perfect movie as well.
Yeah.
Like I'm a, me and you are big Tarantino fans, and it's just like and
Yeah,
like
I was gonna say Pulp Fiction, but I did. I already said how much I love that movie, so
no, I so you almost answered this one, and I'm like, oh no, like is he going to answer this? But I'm like, okay. Um, do you have a least favorite horror trope?
well, I mean, modern wise, yeah, I basically did answer it. It's the it is the texting thing. I in the early 2000s, the cool thing with horror movies was that they had to find a way to kill the cell phone
Right.
because it would just kill the movie if the cell phone was. And yeah, I mean, because back in the 70s and the 80s, even the 60s, there were no cell phones. If the phone line was cut, then you were SOL.
You were done for.
You
Yeah.
know,
Like
yeah, and so
you
you
just
can't
go
call
out.
Sheriff Brackett to come help you. You
See,
know,
that's I told someone like the everything in Game of Thrones would be handled with a cell phone. Like if they were cell phones, like everyone would just be like, "Hey, um, Jamie and Cersei are banging." It's like, all right,
yeah,
like like
prove it.
like
Okay, here's the video.
yeah,
The kid that gets pushed out of the window, right? While he's watching them,
yeah,
uh, you know, he's like recording the whole thing on video, and then all of a sudden, like late, they 2 years later they find the phone, they're like, oh, Jamie and
right,
Cersei are what? You know,
yeah.
yeah.
Mine would
So
be this
yeah, modern cell phones,
I get that one.
yeah,
Mine's a little bit more classic. I hate when people fall down. I like they get tripped up on something, and it's just kind of like how I don't trip. I've like at all, but I understand like running through the woods and stuff. But I've
you're not
literally
in a
watched,
state of panic though.
yeah. But I just it just kind of like to me it's like, oh, we need to slow this person down. Let's just like trip them, just like, all right, here we go. Like you're gonna like
So if you watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original,
uh-huh,
there's a scene where Gunnar Hansen is chasing Sally Hardesty, right?
uh-huh,
Marilyn Burns. And Gunner's doing such a good job at being this imposing force, this big, bulky, imposing force. But it doesn't take long for Gunner to catch up to Sally.
mm-hmm,
So he's got to stop and start cutting away and whacking away at all these briar bushes
okay,
to give her time to get further ahead.
further. That's funny. I never.
But at that same point, she's also tripping from time to time, because she's in a state of panic. But
Right.
yeah, watch it, and Gunnar Hansen has said that there's times where you'll just see him just randomly stop and just cutting away at these briar bushes, and it's just to give her time to get
Away.
here instead of being right here.
Gotcha. And I'll have to rewind. I'll have to pay attention to that. One question number 9 is the best use of a licensed song, like not a soundtrack, just like a particular sequence in the movie where that song just hits perfectly, and not like a score, but like
I'm gonna let you go first on this one.
okay. So I there's to me there's a lot of choices, but to one that I go back and watch quite often is from X-Men Apocalypse, the Quicksilver scene where he's rescuing all the people to what's the song? Crap. Sweet Dreams. Um, and it's like
Okay.
it's to me that is awesome. It's like because he's moving at super speed, and it's like and just the way the music and the way it's filmed and everything, it's just like it matches up so well, even though it shouldn't, but it works really really well. So that's my pick. Otherwise, that movie is so forgettable, except for that scene, and that's and just like it, and it, which sucks because Apocalypse is such a big X-Men character, but it's just like that particular scene in that movie is the standout scene of the whole movie, and it just happens to be a licensed song being used.
Okay, so mine is, and it's another one of those movies that everybody hated but me. I don't know. I think you and I talked about this before. I think you liked it too. But mine is from the movie Sucker Punch,
Oh, okay, yes, okay,
and it's White Rabbit by Jefferson Airplane,
okay,
where where they're, all of a sudden you hear one makes you nervous,
yeah,
one, and then all of a sudden they go into this dream sequence where Baby Doll and all of them are fighting in these mechanoids, or it's like a World War II type of
it's
thing.
like the blimp.
I love that scene.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, that's a good one.
I
Speaking of, like, they use "Sweet Dreams" at the beginning of that movie too, like, but a slowed down cover song, but cover of it. But it's just like, but yeah, I really like the use of that, and it's just like, oh yeah, I totally forgot about that. That's a good one. That's a
actually,
uh,
yeah, I mean, you could almost say anything Tarantino, because
or
Tarantino loves to put music in his movies, you know, and he always likes to pick the really weird, surf, like in Pulp Fiction, the surf guitar sound, or oh,
yeah,
if we're going Pulp Fiction, then we have to go with "Girl,
oh,
You'll Be a Woman Soon,"
right before
and
she
it's
go.
not Neil Diamond. It's
Oh,
um, it's a remake of a Neil Diamond song, but it's not Neil Diamond.
I didn't know that. I didn't. I haven't really listened to his soundtrack. I just take that back. I don't know who sings what on that song. Mine is like Miserlou um and what's the other one? The one so um but so finally we have to end on this question here. Um this is kind of a deeper question. Can you separate the actor from the role?
Can I separate the actor from the role? Yes. I have no problem. Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. A lot of people look at Robert Englund and go, "Oh, look, it's Freddy Krueger,"
Okay.
and um,
Well,
and
I
I'm
was
like, "Yeah, but it's Robert Englund." But it's
I,
Robert Englund. I mean, it's yeah.
I
But
I was kind of no. That's a good way of going as well. Like when I thought about this question was, like say like an actor has committed a crime that most people can't like go back and watch said movies with him in it, like or her. Kind of like
oh yeah, no, I have no problem with that. I honestly, I mean, I guess it like Phil Hartman.
okay,
Phil Hartman was killed by his wife, and to me, Phil Hartman was a comedic genius. You know, now he
hmm
didn't commit the crime; his wife committed the crime. But I don't just go. I don't just sit there and go, "Oh, well, I'm not going to watch. I'm not going to watch The Simpsons or News Radio or any old SNL because of what happened to him." It's just
right,
the opposite. You know. In fact, there's times where I'll be watching a movie. I'm like, "Oh man, I wish Phil Hartman was still around because he would nail that. He would
right,
nail that that scene." You know. to this day, I mean, I don't know if this happens to you being a movie buff, but it happens to me a lot. And that's like, I can be walking through like a store and all of a sudden I hear someone say like, they might say a line that's even close to something I've heard in another movie or a TV show. And, and all of a sudden I have a picture of that in my head, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And,
Well, that happens when people talk about movies and from like other aisles, and then they get it wrong, and I'm just like, don't go over. Do not go over there. And
I have to do, I honestly have to do that too. Honestly, I'm like, oh my God, Michael
so,
Douglas was not in that movie.
like Michael Douglas was in Spartacus. I'm like, like,
No, that
just
was his father, Kirk.
it's like, or something stupid or something more. Like, I got into it with
Yeah,
somebody
yeah,
so badly about something. Like, you've seen Mars Attack, right? Um,
yes,
Burton movie. Okay, so the way that Jack Nicholson gets killed in the like for the second time in the movie, with the hand flag thing, and I was like, no, this is how he dies, and they're like, no, that's not how he dies. I'm like, and then how does he die? And he's like, he falls when like, he falls backwards and hits something. And I'm like, no, like he shakes the hand of the Martian, and the hand detaches and kills him. And they're like, no, that's not how it goes. And like he trips on like the little tank or something, and he impales himself on. I'm like, dude, like I will I'll buy this movie just to prove you wrong. You know, it's like that just because of that. Or um another one that I got into it with somebody was Scary Movie. You think like the first Scary Movie when Carmen Electra gets like stabbed in the boob, and he pulls out the implant,
yeah.
and somebody's like, that's an like somebody swore up and down that was a giant ice cube. I'm like,
Oh,
what?
wow.
Like it's a breast. And he's like, no, no. I'm just like, I don't know.
The joke is that she's got breast implants.
Yeah. And so,
Well, no,
but
I
yeah.
mean, I only ask you that because like every now like I was at a store one time and someone was talking about Doug McClure, right? And they're like, oh yeah, this movie's got Doug McClure in it, you know. I'm like, and every time I hear Doug McClure, I think of Phil Hartman
Okay.
because in The Simpsons he's like, hi, I'm Troy McClure. He had a character named Troy McClure. He's like, you might remember me from movies like the 7 times I went down on mom and you know, and just like these really weird, bizarre titles, you know.
Hmm.
And Troy McClure was a combination of Troy Donahue and Doug McClure
Oh, okay. That's
that
fine.
that Matt Groening came up with. So every time I hear like Troy or Doug, I'm like, I am Troy McClure. You know, and he was so yeah. That
But
happens to me a lot. The
but
weirdest little thing will just get me to yeah. Go ahead.
but to answer it your way as well, was yeah, I can totally separate like Robert Englund from Freddy Krueger, or who else? Matthew
Arnold
Lillard from
Schwarzenegger from the Terminator.
just or yeah, Matthew Lillard from Shaggy, just like kind of like more, or like who else? John Travolta from like Danny Zuko, just like just like but yeah, it's just like
It's
I
kind
could.
of funny. The funny thing is that when it comes to John Travolta, I don't think of him as Danny Zuko. I mean, when I grew up, Grease came out. It was a big thing, you know. And then there was Saturday Night Fever, and then there was Urban Cowboy. But I think he pretty much buried Danny Zuko when he did Vincent Vega.
Oh, I think so too. Like
You
that
know,
and I to me, as much as I love Pulp Fiction, I will when I see John Travolta, it will be Face Off, because I just like, or Broken Arrow, one of those two movies. As much as I love Pulp
Broken
Fiction,
Arrow, Face Off, The General's
yeah,
Daughter, Basic. Yeah,
those are the movies that I think it's
as long
like,
as you don't say,
what say
as long
what?
as you don't say, "Look who's talking to me."
Oh man, those movies are amazing. Like like like
Oh yeah,
who doesn't want to listen um Baby Talk, have inner
yeah,
monologue the whole movie. Um, so yeah, so we it's just, yeah, like, because I was thinking,
yeah.
because I was asking a friend about wrestling, and that's always been kind of a question, like, can you separate the wrestler from what he did? Like, obviously Crispin Wall, that was where I was going with that one with him, and like,
That one's a really hard one to separate. I
so
mean,
I'm with you on that one. I've only watched, I maybe, since that happened, I've maybe watched only one or two of his matches, and it's just because I didn't realize he was on
because
that.
I was a huge, I'm a huge Benoit fan. I think he was an amazing wrestler.
Hmm.
Um, as far as technicians go, but to kill your wife, and then kill your kid.
Hmm.
That's the harder of the two pills to swallow. I mean, it's one thing when it's yeah. I mean, there have been people. Lorena Baba chopped off the penis of her husband because he was abusive. I mean, there's been many cases where husbands and wives don't quite get along. It's like that's one thing, but to actually kill your offspring,
Right.
that's just that one's hard to swallow for me.
And he has such like a body of work,
Yeah,
uh, and so it's kind of like, and to be praised for that body of work for so long, up until like, even like the day of he died, until all the information came out. You know what I mean? Like, and so, but yeah. Um. Yeah. That's all my questions for today.
yeah,
All the um. And so, um, and we even answered one question from the previous show, which is the Halloween one. So, let's see. Any Our review on Thanksgiving was definitely check it out. We have,
yeah. Check it out. Check it out. Give it a chance. Yeah.
at least once for sure. Um, Check out, like, what are the movies like we talked about? We talked about Twister and Earthquake and Aliens and our
Vanishing
horror.
Point, Mad Max,
Yeah. So,
Aliens, Back.
and we talked.
Dude, if you haven't seen Backdraft,
Yes,
you got to see
maybe
Back. If you, I mean, for the people that are going to watch it, if you haven't seen Backdraft,
that may be our next movie we talk about.
yeah, go ahead.
I mean, soon. But yeah, I have to go feed
Oh,
our.
dude, the stuff that honestly,
Oh,
the
go ahead.
stuff I've been watching, I actually just a quick
No, you're good.
take. A while back ago, I found Twin Peaks at that same thrift
Oh,
shop that I found uh, Game of Thrones at, and I also found the complete set of The West Wing.
oh yeah, I
And I
forgot.
told you about that,
Yeah.
dude. The West Wing, honestly, I watched all 7 seasons just back to went through the
Hmm.
and that shows a. I didn't watch it because I didn't really care. It's like when it was originally on, I didn't really. It's like I'm not the big I'm not the big guy that watches like a lot of political stuff, but it's Aaron Sorkin, and he did do The American President. And so I'm like, okay, well, I'll watch this, and it's got Martin Sheen in it and Bradley Whitford, and so I'll give it a chance. And the people that show up in this, Elizabeth Moss shows up in it, young Elizabeth Moss
Oh,
as the president's daughter, and
oh, I didn't know.
Nina Shamaitsko shows up in this as the president's other daughter, and
That's cool.
uh, and oh God, she was on the X Files. She took over for Scully. Annabeth Gish.
Oh, okay.
Annabeth Gish um, shows up on this show as the president's third daughter.
Oh gosh, that's funny.
I mean, just and talking about Greece, Stockard Channing's in this as the president's wife, and
Fourth
just
dog.
you get the Rob Lowe's in it,
Rob Lowe.
Bradley Whitford. Bradley Whitford is probably one of the most likable characters on this show, and I honestly say, give West Wing, dude. If you can find, I can't believe I found this box set. It honestly looks like a briefing, briefcase type thing, and it's got like files inside it where all the discs go, and I got it for like $8 at a thrift store, and I looked it up online. If I was to buy it right now from Amazon, it's $109.
Oh wow.
And it's a little beat up. It's got tears here and there, but I'm just kind of like, I thought it was cool. A lot of really good episodes. I watched Twin Peaks for the first time in like 30 freaking years, man. And I do remember going, oh, I like the first season a lot, and I knew that the show got weird, and it gets really weird towards the end. And this is my problem. I think David Lynch does weird just to be weird. I don't think it really. He's just kind of like, well, I have an idea, but I want to do it a really weird way because I'm David Lynch, rather than just let's make a movie. No.
I think what I've been watching lately
Twin Peaks was cool.
I watched Jurassic Park for the first time in a while, and I'm like, for how good that movie was. Like, forgot like how well crafted that movie is for a dinosaur movie. Like, it's but it's just like it's so good, so good. And I'm watching it through like today's eyes, and just like and watching where it went. It goes to Jurassic World. Like it has such small beginnings, and I love like where it like I think they should have just stuck with one. Like Jurassic World's not too bad.
Don't get me wrong. I do really like the first one, but I've liked every movie that has come out. I really have. Just as equal as the last. I liked. Everyone hates part 3. I liked part 3. I liked part 2, Lost World. But you got to wonder how many times it's like they moved it from one island to a second island in the second movie. Mm-hmm. They're like, okay, well they've quarantined or I don't know if that's the right word, but basically banned anyone from going to the original island from the first movie,
Yeah.
And it's like, how many times can you guys go, whoops? Oops, we did it again.
Yeah.
To quote Britney Spears.
Like Jurassic World 2.
But they're popcorn movies.
Yeah, they're popcorn. So yeah, I gotta go. I don't mean we'll definitely it's his lunchtime. I can hear them up there.
I've watched I watched all 4 versions of Army of Darkness.
Oh, we'll say that for next time, because I'll definitely rewatch those as well, because I have them as well, so I can like what's called, we can break down each cut.
Yeah. So, do you have the television cut?
Yep, and I have a three. I have the same version that you have, but just on Blu-ray. Yeah, they have all. I have all
Yeah.
4 versions.
Well, okay, because
Yeah.
it's on 4K, but I don't have a 4K player, but I picked up the Steelbook because it had the theatrical, the international, the directors, and it had a special in the special features section of the what is it the international.
Mm-hmm.
It has the television cut, which was really
Yeah.
interesting. Bastards becomes buzzards, and
Yeah. So yeah, I definitely have. I have them all as well. So so we can definitely break those down for sure. But yeah, thank you for doing
and
this.
I'm
Thank
finishing up
oh,
today. Sometime today, I'm going to finish it. I'm going to finish up Army. No, I'm just saying. Sometime today, I'm going to finish up Ash vs. the Evil Dead. I'm
oh,
going to be done with
perfect.
the entire series.
Oh, then we can talk about that too. Perfect. Yes. Okay.
So
So
yeah,
next
exactly.
episode.
So
Next
yeah,
episode we'll
till next
definitely.
episode. You got to get to
Yeah.
little A.
Yeah. So
All right.
thank you for joining us, and I will talk to you. I am the one and only MSJ, Max for short. Where can they find you?
You can find me on YouTube, the 13th Wolfman. I don't do Twitter anymore, so you can find me on YouTube, the 13th Wolfman, pretty much. And yeah, you know, Max is going to tell you he's going to go geek out, and I'm going to tell you I'm on the prowl.
Yeah.